right, everyone, welcome to Boulder Insight's Tableau Live. This is our November edition, and we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm Heather Datillo, and I will be one of your hosts today. I'm the EVP of Operations here at Boulder Insight, and I am joined with my esteemed colleague, Chris Cox, our founder, visionary, and GGTK fellow there. He's our good guy to know. And so you all have real problems, and these are all real users that just come to us through the Tableau community and through our past customers and contacts that just join us each month for free, where we can take your questions and try our best to answer them live. If we can't, we are tenacious problem solvers. We will schedule time with you following the call to make sure that your questions get answered as well. So let's talk through our agenda for today. This is the welcome that we're doing right now, and we'll talk a little bit more about how the Tableau Live session will work. We'll then answer some of the submitted questions and topics that have come in as best we can. Sometimes we get questions that are submitted and we need some clarification. And if you're not here live, we may do our best to answer, but it might not be the correct question that you had. So you can come back to us next month and we'll be happy to answer that as well. And then we usually do some kind of demonstration for you with tips and tricks around how to best use Tableau. Sometimes we do something called revisit, where we'll take a visualization and make it over. We all love makeovers, whether it's a home makeover or cooking or it's visualization. And sometimes we talk about why we viz something. So why visit? And so today in our agenda, we'll be talking about HR data and specifically looking at termination data. The reason we're leaning into HR at this point is because we are headed to the University of South Alabama next week for their SABRE Data Analyst Conference, and we're presenting on HR data. So it's fresh in our mind and thought it would be a great thing for us to share with you all today. And then we always open it up to live Q&A with anyone that has questions that are burning questions that you want answered around Tableau, data visualization, strategy for your company. We'll do our best to answer them during the call. And then we have a nice wrap up and we do it all over again in the next month. So if you have not submitted a question in advance, that's part of the registration process where you can do that. You can at any point come off mute on the call, come off your camera. If you want your video showing, you're welcome to do that as well. Or put your question into the chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat throughout the time together that we have for Tableau Live. So keep the questions coming. Let us know if you have thoughts or questions throughout as we're demoing and answering the questions as well. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll move into those submitted questions that came in. One question came from Pradesh beforehand, and the only words that we got were web integrations. And so I don't see that Pradesh has joined, Chris, so maybe we can, I can stop sharing my screen and maybe you could share yours and we can talk about some of the ways that we talked about how Tableau can be integrated via the web, or I could start with showing one of our public-facing dashboards we've done with some of our clients. You want me to start with that?
Yeah, I think that sounds best. I don't know exactly. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can take that topic, but yeah, if you want to share what are you going to do? The Colorado Pulse poll?
Yeah, I think I'll show a few things here. So let me go ahead and open this up. I'll bring it over.
And this kind of goes more to the embedding. I'm not sure.
That's what I'm thinking as well, that I can go into both our, sorry guys, I'll go to Pulse and I'll go to both places and kind of show it as well. So embedding in Tableau, when we're talking about web integrations, this kind of moves in. We had an embedded question that comes up. There are different ways that we can do web APIs and connect to Tableau as well. But I thought it also might be interesting to talk about web integrations with being able to take a Tableau dashboard and embed it into a public website. So we have several clients that we work with. We have several clients that are nonprofit clients that have public-facing dashboards that they do. And you'll notice right here that this has Tableau at the bottom. You'll also notice the embed share options and things that are here as well. So the way that this works, that the way that this is a Colorado Health Foundation, they take a pulse poll every year, taking the pulse on what matters most to Coloradans, and then we visualize that data for them. And so if you want to go into a specific area and you want to see the data around mental health strain for Coloradans over the last year, you can click, you can see this data, you can navigate it by looking at, different demographics, selecting, African American and Black females who are 30 to 39 and how the data is impacting them and what matters most to them. And the way that this is embedded, we build it first in Tableau Desktop. We then set up a Tableau Public account for the Colorado Health Foundation. They have a Tableau Public website. And then from there, we can take the embed code from the Tableau Public site, and they can then put that into their website. So when we talk about web integrations, this is a really simple, easy way that you can use Tableau Public. You can use your Tableau server, depending on, if you want this to be public, if you want it to be in a password protected portal for your clients, then it would be through your server, not Tableau Public, and embed your dashboards into websites and things. So that's one of the ways that we can talk about, web integrations with Tableau. Chris, is there anything else that you wanted to show?
Yeah, I can show it as part of my other piece. I'll kind of pull that back in. We'll just keep on going with the questions since that person here anyway. Yeah.
So I hope that Prashad answered your first question that came into play here around web integrations. There's a whole lot more. There are API connectors. There's ways that we can do more, but hopefully we can get a little bit more information from you in the next time that we host next month. And then we also have Anderson here with us today. And I know Anderson asked a question in advance too about what are the top embedded projects you're prioritizing for customers through the down economy, and what are you focusing on in FPA? So Anderson, I know you're here. Do you want to come off mute and give a little bit more context behind your question, if you'd like?
Hey, can the class hear me?
Yeah,
we sure can.
So you just showed a couple public facing and nonprofit things. So maybe the focus was just on like financial planning and analysis use cases. So a little bit targeted with the specific line of business, but just curious if y'all are spending any time in that part of specific businesses.
Yeah, I mean, so really, I would say that, I think the key thing that you covered here is the down economy. So what are people focusing on? And really our clients are either looking at their current financial situation, which we do help them like visualize that data. We're working with one client right now who is a very old school client. I went into one of their management meetings and they literally handed out a stack of papers about that thick, and they're like flipping through them in the meeting, trying to decide what they're going to do. And I'm like, guys, this is just crazy. But definitely how you think about any of the stuff you do with Tableau is so it really should be like putting $1 in and you get 2 out. So whether that be you get 2 out because you saved time or you saved money or it gave you the answer that you needed to have, that's one way. Or if it's like the other half of our clients, which are really focused on building products and they're giving those insights to their clients about different data sets. So, I mean, really the kind of we don't have specifically like FBA clients, though that's a function of every client we have. So we do it. Obviously those are going to be ones that we can't show you. So that kind of stinks. Like most of the stuff we have, we really can't show off. So we have to kind of make up a few things, but if you do have a specific need and we want to cover after the call, we can totally do that. Is that fair enough? I know it was a kind of a generic answer, like political speak, but
no, I'd love to speak after the call. I'm gonna have to jump here in a couple minutes, so that might make sense anyway.
Okay, great. Yeah, sounds good.
And we've done a ton in the financial industry for sure, but we also we can't even say some of the names of the ones that we're in with the NDAs and
large
as financial security
bank. That's what we're told.
Large financial institution, I believe, is what we actually say with it. But there's a ton of ways that we can be working with any of you that are listening or joining with us to really think about how you can get the most value from the work that we're going to do with you.
Yeah.
So
And I'll use this as a time to say this, is that really the reason why we're so good at it. I mean, one is because we got an amazing product that we leverage Tableau, but that's just the middle piece. A lot of the work is really on the front end of doing what I call, like, kind of your typical like a business consulting, because most people start with the data, but if you start with the change you want to affect first, then you come up with what questions do you need to affect that change, and then what data do you need to actually support that question to give you that change. So we kind of do a little bit of a kind of a business consulting starting piece to it. Then we get the data, then we organize it, then we go down the whole visualization path, and then from there we go into the whole machine learning side, right? That's kind of the full scope of it. And during my little HR thing, I'll kind of show you that a little bit.
So, Chris, I think it's a great segue to talk about why visit, right? And so, as I mentioned, we're headed to the University of South Alabama. So, a little shout out to our folks that are down there. We're super excited to be invited back to be guests. They're also going to be launching their inaugural TUG group, so their Tableau user group down on the Gulf Coast as well. And so where we're focusing, there's a lot of industry verticals that people ask, what do you specialize in with Tableau? And we always say we specialize in data. It's really not about your industry, that it all breaks down to dimensions and measures when you're focusing on data. But what we have been doing a whole lot more of is starting to talk about the horizontals, right? Every company, no matter who you are that are here today, there is an HR department for you. Whether you're a small company or not, it might be outsourced, but somehow there are humans in your company that are your resources that we want to be looking at. And so one of the things that we've been focusing on and thought would be interesting to show is the termination data, and just how we go about taking this from a Tableau, from an Excel spreadsheet mindset of just looking at the data tabularly and trying to help make decisions around it, and what our process would be with this HR data if we had a question, let's say, around looking at our termination and our attrition rate. Are there trends and patterns that we need to be looking at or we might be missing in order to reduce attrition? So this is kind of where the conversation is going to head, and Chris is going to walk us through kind of the process that comes of where he's starting is at a crosstab or Excel table, but how hard it is to answer questions. The goal of Tableau is for everyone to see and understand their data and answer the questions that you need to have. So when you're done with the analysis, you usually end with more questions and can go deeper and deeper into your analysis. So it moves beyond reporting and into analysis. So Chris, I'm going to hand this over to you and let you start walking it through, and I'll ask questions throughout.
All right, cool. Yeah, so typically, like if you're used to Excel, which everybody is, this would be a very common data set for you. You've got employee ID that had been terminated. This person was involuntary. The reason was it was in a reorg. It was a male, white, in the legal department, and they were corporate attorney. So you start asking questions, and if you think like Excel, you're like, okay, I want to sort on this column here. Well, you can do that. I can click and sort. Or actually, or even differently, Tableau will let you just drag that over to the left, and then it'll sort everything for you. So it always works from left to right. But typically we want to sort on size, on number of marks. But like the questions I would ask here is, okay, well we have terminations here, termination reasons. So I'd want to know termination type. So I got like involuntary, and then I got a voluntary. And then I may say, okay, well, how many are in each group? I mean, I can click it, I can tell you that there's 52 in this one, and then there's 17 in that one. But how many of those are in legal, let's say? So I might drag department over, and now it's going to group them. Okay, so I can tell you voluntary legal is 5, and I don't have any in legal in this one, right? So those are things that I want to know, or actually gender. That may be another really good one to look at. So involuntary, they're all there's some male. So there's male is 29 and then 23. But there's so many combinations of things that I'd want to do that I can't do it in one spot. So this is when you start building out sheets. So I'm just going to do one really quick. So new worksheet. And actually, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to delete this one. I'm just going to cheat off this one. So I already have. Whoops. You're supposed to see that. Don't look. Perfect. All right. I'm just going to start here. We'll go to termination type. And we're just going to count the number of actually people. Okay. So really, really simple. I would count, I got 52 and actually 11. So that gave me that number. And then I may want to know, okay, well then how does that break down by, let's say gender. So I could easily do this. I could put gender on color and I could actually tell you really, really quick. Okay. But then I want to say, okay, well, I want to do that. And also here, this is, by the way, when I'm starting building a dashboard, I know there's a lot of little formatting things that Tableau has by default. So I will spend a little bit more time on the first graph I build. And I almost always build everything in bar charts first. Then I'll come back and maybe change a little bit. The reason why is because I mean, as boring as they get, bar charts is almost the best way to do analysis, because it really just gives you that visual breakdown. Your eye can quickly come and see that, okay, this is like a third. Even if I didn't have the numbers, I could roughly guess what these are. So I don't need to know the exact numbers. I need to know the percentage ratio, right? So I spend a little more time here. And the first thing I do on everything is I turn off the background color, which I've already done in this one. And then I would turn off all of these lines. So I like to have as clean as I can. And as you'll see in the end, we always put in our own custom background to really make things look good. So getting rid of all the formatting is key. I'll show you one more thing that's always a gotcha. On these little lines here, even though this one would come up as, I can set it to none. And typically if this is bold, then that means that the rows and columns are already done. But most of the time, this grid line here, it isn't actually finished. It actually doesn't work. So you have to always visit that one again. But I would turn those off, make that full. I would also do, since I know I'm going to have colors on this, so I have multiple bars. I would really care more about the total. So I would do a per cell sum, and I want to label that as the value. And that's going to put the total on the end of the bar for me. And I'd spend one more second here of going in. These are always, Tableau always puts a shading on these. So I would put that down to 0. And then sometimes if your bar is really filled up the sheet, it's not going to put it exactly on the end. So I always put it on the end and then in the center. So those are my standard on my first graph I do everything with. And then once I have that, then I use this to do like other stuff. So we call this one termination type. Right? PE. Okay. And it already exists. We're going to do underscore termination type. Okay. So now I was going to duplicate this guy, and I would build, let's just say, now I can use everything I have, and we were talking about maybe having gender. So now I can just drag gender on, and it's already actually built. Well, I don't necessarily need the color on this one because it's already telling me what I want. But then I may say, okay, well, hey, I'd like to know it the opposite way. I'd like to know termination type by male and female. So to do that, I would say, you know what, I actually want these colors to be to actually be able to change out. So I would create a quick parameter. I'll call this dynamic DYNAMIC color. And typically I choose the integer. That's a little bit faster. So anything you can do to make your workbooks faster. You could use a string here. It's not a huge time savings, but a little bit. So we'll call this one termination type. And if I can type, and then I'll add a 2 for gender. Okay. Okay. So when you have a parameter, the key is building the parameter. Then you use the parameter. So I'm going to use it next inside a calculation. Dynamic DYNAMIC color. And I'll just do a case statement, case of dynamic color. When 1, then termination type. Oops, that's the reason. Termination type. When 2, then gender. So that's it. And so whenever I want it, I can keep adding to these as we go, but I'll just do those 2 for now. So now I have used that. So dynamic color, DY,
It was missing an N, so yeah.
I'm missing an N. Okay. So now I'm just going to swap that out for this actually gender. So now I have involuntary, voluntary. There's too close to the same color, so I'm just going to change those. We'll do involuntary as, we'll use something, we'll use a brighter one. We'll give you some reds for involuntary and a purple for, I don't want to be bright enough. Okay, so reds and purples. So now, then I could show this parameter, and now I can switch out the color, right? So really quickly, oh, I messed up my thing. That's okay. We're just going to leave those like that for now. Okay, so there's my colors all set and done, and I'm going to go ahead and fix it on this one too. Just put dynamic color in here, and so now I can start building other things. So this one is rename gender. Okay. Oops, rename. I'll put them all with underscore so I know what they are. Gender. Okay, and then so now it's really simple. Just start duplicating graphs. I've already got my color stuff in here. So I want to look at the department, because I want to know which departments are actually having terminations. Looks like actually legal is having a lot of problems.
Which is really ironic, right? That you'd hope that the legal would not have as many problems, but.
And then we might be able to get some insight into what kind of people are being let go by maybe their title, right? So I pull in title. That could be a different one. Bunch of titles. Who's getting let go? Uh-oh. So that's something. Think that's how like the down economy happened. So and then we have termination type. How about termination reason? Reason. So termination reason. Easy enough. The saying that one bad apple spoils a bunch. How about 6? That's not good. There'll be some problems there. And then we'll just throw in maybe like ethnicity. That's always something that is important to look at in HR. See if there's any issues going on. Okay, so I have these created. So now you can start doing your analysis. So I've got all these. Let's say, and I'll maybe pull in a vertical container just because I like to be able to move things around and group a little bit. So let's start with department. Go in department, and we're to title. That makes sense. So department and title. Oh, one of the other things I like to do is I like to go ahead and kind of color my background a little bit, because I can't see where the edges are. So I'll put a little bit of a color in the background just to see where my sheet is. So now I see where it ends. This also is something good to mention. Tableau defaults to a desktop browser with all of our screens being wider than tall. Typically the best size for most what we see is doing this PowerPoint size. So 16 by 9. So as you see, I got a lot more room now. The other reason why I like this size is it's the exact same ratio as this generic desktop. So typically we build everything in 16 by 9. And then if you're embedding, we just knock it down to this ratio, which will automatically resize everything in the right order. So it'll automatically fit to whatever you have. So that's typically what we do. So let's say, okay, I got this one all taken care of. Then we'll do one more. I'll do another vertical container, throw it over here. And we'll say, let's do termination type, and we'll do termination reason. We'll do ethnicity, oops, and we'll do gender, right? And I'll eyeball these and make them the same. Whoops, cancel. There we go. And so the great thing about the way we're doing these is, yeah, that worked out pretty good. So I'd always size these up. I'd probably spend a little bit more time. One of the things that Tableau has built in, whoops, it's live. That's why it's live right there. You see the mistakes. So I spent some time getting these lined up. Tableau does come with a grid. So if you click dashboard, show grid, It's a very light, faint blue. You can see it now, but that would help me get these lines all synced up so I could do it easily by getting them correct. I'm kind of anal about things like that. Just little small things like that drive me nuts. But I like the bars all being one size. These look already pretty good. Okay, so now we have that. I'll take the grid off. So now we can start asking those questions. And also, by the way, this stuff already actually works. So if I want to color everything on gender, I can do that. Color everything on termination type, I can do that. That would give us those numbers and those breakdowns. But now the question is, okay, well, how many people in, let's say, sales? So there are 6 people in sales. So the real magic of Tableau is, we could do it this way where we have a filter, and I say, hey, I want to have a department filter, and this is what we see most people doing. They'll add this. They'll say, okay, well, I want to apply this to all of these data sources, or all these worksheets. So I'll apply to everything. Select all on dashboard, and I'll say, show me sales. So I unclick this and I click sales. So now I have done that, but now I actually forget. I kind of forget. Well, was the most people that were let go in sales, or was that the bottom, or was it the middle? What's higher, what's lower? So when you use filters, you can't really do analysis. You're really in Excel mindset. You're thinking about, I already know what I want to know. That's great, but you're only going to make decisions on what you don't know. So using filters to me is a really bad idea. I'm going to do one more thing. This is, if I had this laid out perfectly, I would take the container, which let me group, and I would actually get rid of it. I would take the container out, and I'll show you why. I'll go back to the sales example and show you why. Because I hate, whenever I'm doing any sort of filtering, I hate when my titles jump all over the place. As you saw in that last one, when I went to blank, I went to sales, like everything jumped up top of the screen because this gap was gone. So if I have it in a container and it has room to move, it's going to move. So I would rather things be in their spot and just show some blanks, because that shows you it was taken out. That's just a little side note. But anyway, the other way to do it instead of filters is to use actions. So dashboards have actions. So dashboard action, and it comes up. I'll say, hey, this sheet, I want to have this filter action, and I want to do it on select, and I want to show all values whenever it clears, and I want to do it from all to all. So my source sheet is all, and my target sheet is all. I'm just going to name it that, but I'm not going to uncheck anything. So now instead of having a filter, I can say, oh, sales is actually the 5th highest one. So I can click it, and it does the same thing that filter did, except now it keeps all my values in context. So now I know that there are other places that had a lot higher terminations than the sales department did, but I don't have to go and memorize and come back. I can see everything there. And then I start noticing, hey, all of the terminations that have been done in sales have been actually female. That's interesting. And most of them are actually voluntary. I can see that here too, right? So these are the type of HR things that we would, do that analysis on. But as you can imagine, there's way too many combinations. So this is where I would say the next step, which we're not going to do today, this is what we're doing at the conference, is there's a need for there's a need for having machine learning, right? So it'd be better off if I had a machine go through every single combination and tell me, hey, we actually predict that we're going to have people that are going to quit in like this department because of a substandard raise, right? So we see that this department gives out raises that are lower end, they have a higher thing. And then what you do is you pull that data set into the dashboard, and then you come back and you can say, and you can prove it out. But trying to go through every combination and figure out what it is super hard. So it's much better to use machine learning to do all that data munging and then pull it back in. And then, so I'll kind of pause there for a second, and let's just say that we bake this at 350 degrees, like a cooking show, and we put it in the oven, and we would do some formatting to it to make it look super cool, right? So, you know, having it presented is one thing. Having it be interactive and be able to give you the information in a way that you don't have to explain it. You see, we don't have a lot of text here that tells you anything. It should be really, really intuitive. And so leveraging user experience and kind of design helps people, because you're grouping things here. I'm using containers to group. I'm using rounded corners. They're a little softer on your eyes. They point you in versus the square containers point out. I know it's a weird thing, but that's true. We typically lean toward darker backgrounds. Like, all of our phones now have a dark mode and a light mode. The reason why is that people that have any sort of vision issues, the whole white light creates a strain, because white is the brightest color. So you want to use white to call things out that are important, not for the background. In the old day, the argument was, well, this is going to be actually printed, so I can't have a lot of ink being used. I don't think there are people are actually printing anymore. I think we have our phones, we have digital copies of everything. So let's leverage the right things to make it look good and to have the data stand out. So I just flew through that. I know that was super fast. Let me pause and let you guys ask any questions. Tell me what you think. Go from there. Was that too fast, Heather?
No, I think, Chris, we're trying to, it's a Tableau Live, right? So we're just trying to give tips and tricks. Some of the big tips that I heard you say, and if there are any questions, I will, be keeping an eye here on the chat, and you can come off mute as well. But some of the things that you mentioned was, as you're starting with a question, and getting your data aligned in a way, and then starting to think about what are the ways that I'm trying to answer my questions. So, one of the tips that you gave was, create your first bar chart that you're going to be doing, that you're going to be slicing and dicing your data from, how you want to navigate your data, and format that first so you can duplicate that and easily swap out another dimension for it. Another tip I heard you say too, that I fully agree with and teach often, is that, you can use a filter, and you think about it in an Excel mindset, but what the filters do is only allow you to see one part of the picture without any ranking or any understanding. So by creating those dashboard actions and having horizontal bar charts that then allow your data to pivot and move and change based on, the dashboard actions versus the filters, that's going to help improve your dynamics. And then you also talked about parameters, and it's something that we use in every single dashboard we build. We do at least one kind of parameter that's showing the data as a number or a percentage. And we typically have some kind of dynamic color that's there as a way to be able to go about doing that. And you noticed when Chris was going through the process of saying, let's look at our termination types, he started to dive into sales. So he started with, how many terminations have we had in sales? Answered that question. We saw that there were 5 terminations recently. And when we started to dive deeper into that with yet another question, we started seeing that they were all females. And so that may flag some things for you to say, okay, if I'm really looking at this, not just as a report of the number of people who have been terminated, we also are looking at the gender and things. We are going to start to dive deeper and make sure that we're leaning into the trends and patterns that we're seeing and reacting and taking action based on that. So, Chris, I'm going to share my screen real
Let me
fast.
do one more thing before let me say one more thing to
Sure.
jump off. The other reason to not use filters is so if I didn't have that chart on here, and I asked you to tell me which department has the most terminations, well, you can't tell me. So because filters are always alphabetical, they actually do not get sorted in order. So that's the other reason why I like having this here, because this serves as a filter, and it also gives them to you in a sort of a ranked order. So I know legal has 10 versus here that would be like 5th or 6th on the list, right?
Only alphabetical there, so you don't see any of the ranks. You can keep that showing, Chris. That's okay right now.
You said you want to show something.
But I know we have some HR folks in this group right now too. Are there other types of questions that are pressing for you that you're trying to answer with your HR data right now, that we could talk through, that Chris could continue to think that through on this call with you all too? Just looking at our registrations, I know there were a few folks from the HR side of things. If you have any specific questions, put it in the chat or come off mute. We'd be happy to start going down that
Or if
path
there's,
with you.
or for something else, I mean, it doesn't have to stick to this data set. I can make it up. You tell me what you want to know. Nothing? Come on. Somebody's got to have a question. All right. Would you like to see something? You want me to sing for you? And we gotta use this time up. You know,
we do have we are fortunate in that Chris is also known to drop some rhymes, and as a Tableau is known in the Tableau community for his Tableau raps that he'll do as well.
Chris, like I said, I do have a question about like more of the architecture, not the data set.
yeah.
Like if you have this kind of dashboards and you publish to the web or the portals, like if you want to refresh the data dynamically or either the push or something, like is that something you have insights into it, how people are achieving it, how people are doing that?
Sure. Let me pull over one thing. I'm gonna show you one other thing, and I'll kind of go into that. So let me share the screen again. I'm just gonna move this out. So, and that's actually a great question, because I definitely jumped right into, we have a perfect data set that's already been curated. That's the reason why we're going down the HR path, because there's so much data that you need that lives in many different locations. Like you may have assessments in one portal. You may have, your recruiting data in somewhere else. You may have your current, employees in something else. And you really need all that to be actually crossed over. So for every project we start off with, let's go into, let's see, team folders. Here we go. So typically for every project, we kind of start off with something like this. This will talk about a little bit of the publishing to the web, and also the kind of the whole refresh. And I can show you those as well. But for every project, like that dashboard that I built, that would be one of these. Like that would be one of, let it render here. So typically we'll have, come on. There we go. So typically we'll have some sort of a portal that you can get to all the dashboards for. Maybe that has some permissions based on it. So you may not have access to these, or maybe you just have the web analytics piece. But all of these would have some sort of a flow to them. And we would say, okay, well, if I'm building out that dashboard, I actually know that there's three different sets of data. Like for the HR one, like I said, it could be recruiting, could be assessments or trainings they had to do, could be a bunch of different things. So we want to look at all those different data sets and see, hey, how can we get them? This one's going to email us a CSV. This one's got an API, and this one's already got some SQL Server database. So typically we would create some automation steps, and that could be in a number of things. Typically it's like Python or something like that. Typically what we use, but it could be anything depending on what it is. And then we would put that into just kind of a staging table. We like to start there, just put the raw data in, because that way we don't have to, if something is wrong on the end, we have some kind of checkpoints along the way. So first, do we just get the data loaded? Check or no check, right? Start there. And then second, we would do some sort of ETL, some sort of transformation to the data. This is where, so a lot of times, especially if you're getting a CSV, this CSV is 99.999% of the time not going to be built for Tableau. It's going to be built to be read by a human. And so this is where you have to know what your output's going to be. You have to know what your audience is, what are your KPIs, what dimensions, what measures are you going to look at. And then you actually design your transformation to put the data in the right way to do that interactivity. Right? Like a lot of times we get data out that has years in columns. It'll have a year for 2022, 2023, and so on. Well, I can't click on a year and have everything pivot with that structure. I would have to turn it on its side and say, I need a column that says years, and then I need the data for those in its column by itself. So you would technically end up duplicating a lot of data in there, but that's okay. A lot of people get nervous about, oh, I want to make my data as small as possible. So actually Tableau, you don't have to, because it's going to do all that for you. So it's a little different game. You don't have to focus on the size of the data and try to pre-aggregate everything. We will come back to that at the end and see what we can offload to the database, but we have to do our analysis first, because sometimes if you do it first, you may not get the answer you want. So anyway, that's kind of the story of how we get the data down, get it into a production table, and then that's linked up to this dashboard. Then the dashboard gets published up to the Tableau server, and there's different flavors of Tableau server, and then the server then talks to the database. So there'll be either a scheduled refresh that'll happen on a timed basis. You can set your schedule to say, hey, this data only needs to be updated once per day. And is your data coming in incremental rows, meaning there's always a new row written, or do we make edits to old rows? If you make edits to old rows, then you're going to have to do a drop and restore at some point. It doesn't have to be done every time, because we also do combinations. Sometimes we do like incremental during the day every 15 minutes, and then at night we do a full drop and restore. But that would all be automated from your Tableau server. And how that works is like this. So I'll go back to this dashboard. So let's just say, and I'll just go to the one that's already been baked. So this one, actually, let's go look at the back end here. So this one is hitting. Let's see what database it's hitting. I think this is on like Snowflake.
I believe so too, Chris. Yeah.
Yep. So this is hitting our whole Snowflake server. So I could go in here, and you'll see we've done the joins and everything inside here. There's only 2 tables, I think, but I'll type that out, right? We'll find out. So I have 2 options. Oops, I knew I didn't do it right. It's hard for me to type and password at the same time. That seems better. My mouth and fingers cannot work at the same time. So come on, there we go. Man. So I'll point this out. So you see right here in the top, there's two little databases. So what that means is I have created this extract. So I have created an extract of this data. That's right there as well on the top right. So here we've got a bunch of different tables that we've joined. We have our date table. We do an inner join with a timeline. We got an inner join on the employee, the history, the training, the positions. So we do all that. So that's all just, I mean, it's really simple. If you want to drag in a table, you just drag it in. Tableau is going to guess where it wants to go. And then you either change the join structure or kind of whatever else. So it's always better to do these here versus writing your whole custom SQL. Custom SQL is almost always slower, because you're basically saying to Tableau that, oh, I know how to write the queries that you need, but better than you do. And you just don't. That's just kind of a fact. So it's always better to do the joins in this situation, and then for this one we just pull in the recruiting. So Tableau has 2 different ways to do your data joining. One is a regular join, which is what I just showed you in that one, and then this is called a relationship. So a relationship is like a blend on the fly. So this would make it if you had like huge data sets, and if I did a join, it was going to make my data be like 1 billion rows long. You wouldn't want to do that. You're never going to see that many rows. So you have a relationship which will pull this table in by itself, and then this table, and then as you query, it will only pull out the rows it needs. So it keeps your data set a little smaller, a little faster. It's faster if it's really huge. If you have a smaller data set, doing the joins is actually faster. So there's a lot of things to think about with that. So now I can do an extract, or I can do live. So I can have this be a live dashboard. So now all the things that I click are now going to go straight to the database. And then of course we didn't do any dimensions or any indexing on this. So this is Tableau Live. We're going to see if this is slow or not. So we'll find out. But what should happen is it should run those queries directly on the actual database. So as far as how it connects, that's just a live connection. It's taking way longer than I want to wait.
And Chris, while we're waiting for it, or if you want to cancel that, I think one of the questions that might be great to answer too, and that we've been having several conversations even in the last week or so with a few potential clients that Salesforce and Tableau have brought us into to chat with, is talking about this idea of row level security or permissions on a dashboard. So let's say Pradeep might have different departments that they should only be able to see their sales department data versus the legal department termination data. How do we, maybe we can talk about how we use row level securities and permissions in the server to only allow people to see what they're supposed to from their department, their state, their bank, not the overall, whatever that might be. So
Sure.
maybe we could talk about row level security a little bit.
Yeah. Sure. Well, before I go to that,
you don't have to demo it. I just thought you could talk about it.
Has that answered your question about how the data connects, or do you want to see? I mean, there's one more level to it of publishing to the server and the automation. But am I on the right path or no?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what I was looking for. Like it's some of it is the server side scheduling. We wanted to. Some of our applications are like it's a very streaming. If you know like the markets. And those things are like keep moving. And then this dashboard, we wanted to, rather than pull, we just want to push it because we know the server side, like when the data is ready and then ready to go to like as a dashboards. So we were kind of trying to explore that option. Is it something possible in Tableau
this is so this is actually live. So this would be updated all the time. So like right now, I'm running live now. So I'm clicking this, I'm getting the most current data. And it's going to run the query for me. So what I would say is you wouldn't do a pull or it's still really a pull, but it's from somebody asking a question. So you can't really push data to Tableau. Tableau always pulls, but it will always pull based on an action that's being done. So me clicking this runs that actually query. So that's running on the database. That's giving me that answer, right? And then, but if you went the other route, if you did have an extract, so let's go ahead and put it back to being an extract. So you'll see that single database tells me it's live. I can extract the data. I can even like aggregate down if I wanted to, or if I want to do an incremental refresh, like I was talking about. How, hey, I only have new rows coming in. If that's your case, you could do that, and that would be super fast. You kind of get the best of both worlds. So I'm going to go ahead and extract everything. And I could have done a hide unused fields there. That would take out any of the fields I'm not using and make my data set a little smaller. That's also one of the things we do kind of at the end of it is we would do some optimization. So let me put this down. I don't know how many rows this is. We'll find out, I guess. But yeah, and then when you publish it to the server, I'll kind of show you the options to actually schedule. And I can go and show you those anyway. I'll show you as I'm setting up here. So new window and perfect. So what I'm going to do here, and I'll show you. So this is our whole Tableau server. And then Heather, I haven't forgot about your user security. I'll come back to that in a second. But I want to make sure I cover the
that's okay.
data.
And I'm happy to just talk that through too, just so people know it is possible.
Yeah.
And
I actually do have to run, so you're going to talk to that anyway. But I want to share this last piece. So let's just go. It doesn't matter where I'm at. So let me go to manage all sites. So when you go to the all site one, you have this schedules. So these are all the refresh schedules I can choose. So I've got one that's done for like every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour, right? You can set as many of these as you want. So then when I publish to my server, hopefully my extract's done. Yep, it's done. So now when I publish to the server, it's going to say, change the two different databases. So server, sign in, and then it's going to have you sign into the server. I think it already did for me, actually. Oh, come on. There it goes. All right, so sign in. You're going to pick a site because you only publish to one actually site at a time. So it might just I'll just publish here, doesn't matter. Okay, so now I go to server, publish workbook, and and I can pick what I want to see. So I want to say I don't want all sheets. I just want only the dashboards. So that's only going to grab the 2 dashboards. The sheets are not going to get in there. And then I can set a refresh schedule right here. So I want this to be daily at 10, 10, 10, 10, 12. And I can say, hey, I want to show the sheets as tabs. I want to show selections, probably not. And then I want to publish. So once that goes up to the server, now anybody has access to that folder that I have already given permissions to can access it, and they would, and I'd probably put a data refreshed as of at the bottom, so they would know what the current data was. So those are little things I would add on, but now I don't have to do anything else. So now the server handles all the refreshes, and that's kind of basically it.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. I got an appointment. I got to hop. What's up?
Okay. I was just wondering what other possibilities are there with that scheduler from the point of view of output. So one is outputting it up to a web server. I assume you can produce like a PDF document, a booklet or whatever from this, like a kind of nice published. Can that be automated? That would auto deliver out from it?
Sort of. Yes. So if you're so Tableau, I'm gonna call back in, Heather, but you can start on that track, and I'll be back in a second.
Yeah. So Fergus, that is a great question. And we actually, remember when there used to be that commercial, there's an app for that. We have actually built a tool called VIZbot. We've been doing this for a long time, and we have anticipated and found where clients are looking for things being sent out as a PDF and otherwise. So when anything is published to Tableau, Tableau Public, Tableau Server, you have options to download in different modalities and things. So, but we have created a tool that's called VIZbot, that if you have a list that needs to go out every morning and every afternoon, or once a week, or every hour, we can automatically generate mass emails that go out using VIZbot to your list in whatever format you say. If you want it to be a PDF, if you want it to be in just some kind of flat file. You can also do some scheduling as well through Tableau Server. But if you're specifically wanting the PDF and not the interactive modalities, VIZbot will work. So I know Amber just put in the VIZbot IO website for us as well into that. And that'd be something we'd be really happy to demonstrate and talk through for your use cases around that. Well, guys, this has been a lovely session. Yeah, go ahead. Any other questions? Go ahead. All right. No, I thought I heard another one coming through. All right. Well, we've had some live Q&A. Let me go ahead and start presenting from here as well with you all. Some of the things that we wanted to talk to you all about, that this is a quick session. It's only an hour that we get to spend time together with you. And so there's ways that we really are dedicated to supporting you all, empowering your team, and making sure that all of your business intelligence and data analytics needs are being answered. And so you can come to us for conversations around team training and how we can help your beginners to advanced users get mastery over this. We've got you covered. You can reach out to me at info@boulderinsight.com. That'll go to our team. We can talk more about training to be able to help you all. We also are running a special right now where we're trying to lock in our 2023 pricing. So let's talk about that. You can reach out to Stuart Santos and at our info@Boulder Insight around the 2023 pricing as well. And we want to make sure we're staying connected with you all. So you can follow us on socials. You can also go to our website to schedule some time with us as well, or just reach out to that info@boulderinsight.com and we'll get some time. But let me also pull up our website into the view here. I'm bringing this on over. And there is a link to get some time directly on Chris's calendar. This little calendar link in the bottom corner, if you click on that, that's also a way to get a free consulting session with us. For free project consultation. That'll get you a 15-minute session that we can set up time for more, or if you'd like more time with us as well. And we also reach out after Tableau live sessions to make sure there's not any additional ways that we can be supporting you all. So if there's no other questions, let me see, I'm just checking in to make sure that I see a few things in the chat. We also have our info@Boulder Insight, our website that's here too. You please reach out to us and let us know. Otherwise, come with your Tableau questions next month. We always do it at the same time, same place each month. So it's on the second Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So feel free to reach out to us at any time in between or join us for next Tableau Live session. We so appreciate you all joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of day and rest of week, and take care. Go Tableau some minds with the new skills you gained today. Take care, everybody.